Richard Trickle.
It's a tough name. Shit.
Just call me Richard.
Yeah. Just Rich Trickle sounds way better.
Rich Trickle.
Porn name, but
More than Dick Trickle.
That sounds like an itis of some sort. You just can't keep it in. Yeah. But Rich Trickle, that's like
Well, happy New Year's, queers. It's from Behind the Barcast, the podcast for bartending, service industry, drinking in general. I'm Paxton Eugene. We have a sick, out of the under the weather Clint, so he'll be out this week. But we do have Haircut Kelly on the ones and twos.
That's right, baby.
And there's a reason I don't have a drop for you here on my little machine.
It's fine.
I fried
No.
my computer, I think, on New Year's, but more on that in a second. Let me open this bottle of a 120-minute IPA from Dogfish Head. A little more on the 120-minute IPA by Dogfish Head a little bit later. But we did record a few weeks ago before New Year's, and you weren't here. We had Travis sitting in for you. But are you a New Year's resolutions guy?
I've had moments. It's usually a rededication to running again, and maybe joining the Y and start, the typical physical
Right.
changes.
What about like drinking, smoking, anything like the big ones that are impossible to?
I do those on a weekly basis already, so it doesn't really qualify.
Well,
but I haven't smoked in the last. I'll say that.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I texted you last night. I was like, "Hey, you got cigs?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Nope, not smoking." I was like, "Good, I'm going to bed."
Yeah, lately I just haven't been feeling the urge like I usually do.
I don't feel the urge unless I, start
there's
partying
moments.
and drinking. Of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
But,
Well, yeah, because I don't put any I don't call them resolutions at all because I don't typically have it in mind to intend to not do something or to start
Right.
doing something.
Right.
Because I know I'm going to fail at some point. No matter how long you go, if you don't do it through the year, I guess it's a failure.
Yeah.
But this year I had sort of like a self-imposed, because I felt like shit all week. From Monday to Wednesday, I had like constant migraine, like nonstop migraine. So I wore this hat, I put it over my eyes and turned my TV on low and turned all the lights off and literally just laid around in bed for like 3 days.
Huh.
I never get headaches.
Interesting.
Ever. But this was like, and so then
This sounds like migraine quality.
it was, it was coming up the back of my head. It was terrible.
Huh.
So Thursday comes around and I'm like, all right, my head's not feeling so bad. Boom. I have COVID symptoms. Like my legs hurt.
Oh shit.
And I've got some tests, but I didn't even get up and take one. So imposed, non-self-imposed. I didn't smoke or drink or
Yeah.
anything Monday through Saturday.
Well, I think any significant resolution involves a lifestyle change. You can say I'll watch a little less Netflix or stuff, whatever. Maybe it's the less time on the phone. But if you're like talking about eating better, doing better, it's not doing these things anymore. And
Right. It's a very stark, all right, cutting X out.
yeah,
I'm not going to do this anymore. It's like,
right.
if that's something you've been doing, not every day of your life necessarily, but a part of it, like I'm going to stop carbs.
Yeah.
You're gonna trip and fall a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
you gotta be rational too.
I mean, let's not go crazy.
Yeah.
Now, there are things where you could be like, all right, I should do more physically each week.
Right.
So did you get up and like run or?
I thought about it.
I resolved to think about exercise.
In fairness, on New Year's Eve when I drove, I got my ass handed to me. We had a great night. We were running, it was like the old days. And the next morning I woke up with all the intentions of the world, like, I'm going to at least get some steps in. And I was just exhausted still from the night before.
Sure.
So, and I had some football to watch.
So no polar plunge for you?
No. I went to the IGA, got some breakfast food, and went right back to the house.
And then right back to the slumber?
Yes. It was a great day.
Yeah, we'll talk about New Year's in a second.
Yeah.
First, so I've got this 120-minute Dogfish Head IPA, and if we could fruiter it.
Go to it.
Man, this kind of tastes like drinking beer with a shot of Jameson in it because it is very high ABV. It sits around like 15 to 20%. But so the thing about this is the 120-minute IPA by Dogfish, they only do it, certain times of the year, and it doesn't leave out of their couple of states very much. So like you're not going to get 120 in Georgia from a store. Yeah. I don't think they can, since it's such high ABV maybe or something, that they can't, ship it to there might be tariffs on shipping it to other states or whatever, but clocking in at 15 to 20%, 120-minute IPA is continually hopped with a copious amount of high alpha American hops throughout the boil and the whirlpool, and then dry hopped with a boatload of hops. How many times can you say hops in one paragraph? God.
The H count.
The hop count. We don't need the F count anymore. But yeah, and it's okay. So we brew 120-minute IPA a few times a year, but it goes fast. So find you some bottles. So my story, and we'll get back to New Year's in a second, but before I forget about this, as I enjoy it out of this Beer Label Society pint glass, very nice. It's dark, it's unfiltered, it's yeasty, it tastes like a sour biscuit with a shot of Jameson.
Wow.
This particular bottle, so since it's so hoppy and alcoholic, it can like age. It can age pretty well. So this was produced in 2022, I believe. But it's one of those beers that won't die if you leave it on the shelf for a little bit. And
you were doing great until you got to alcoholic. It's a wonderful description.
And once you get it, they say treat it like a steak before you cook it. Pull it out the fridge like 20 minutes. Oh. Because all the volatile compounds of the hops that they put in there seem to work better at like 54 degrees rather than it being, ice cold.
All right.
So about one of your old colleagues, one of my current colleagues, Joe Marvin Tarleton. It was just his birthday a few days ago, actually. So happy birthday, Joe. Yeah. And another one of your colleagues, Joey Grilled Cheese, Mr. Joey Gorelsyke, son of Ron Gorelsyke, the owner of the Breezy Cab Driver, down here on Tybee. And I need to say Hockey Joe Schmidt got me this beer from some state up north. So thank you, Hockey Joe. You're the man. 7-8 years ago, when I lived literally across the street from Huckapoo's, where I work. It was the best of times. The worst.
I was just getting to know you then.
Yeah, so it's been a good 8 years or so. Yeah. Joe Marvin T moved in with me, and so I had the same record collection basically that I have now. Maybe I have like 100 more or something. But back then, I was like experimenting with many beers because I didn't drink a lot of liquor. So my buddy Danny Rapicelli put me on, because he's part of his family's from Delaware, and I believe that's where Dogfish Head is, somewhere in Delaware. Okay. And so we started drinking the 60 and 90-minute IPAs, which are available at most grocery stores or liquor stores, whatever. But we heard the lore of the 120-minute IPA. Okay. So they took a trip to see his family up there, and he brought back 2 bottles, which the bottles are like...
What qualifies as bootlegging at this point?
I know, right? Yeah. Oh, shit, did I just dox him? But they came back in beer socks, like they have... Because they would have it in a beer sock up in like a wine rack.
Wow.
In the open, because you can leave that beer out at room temperature and it doesn't die. Okay. For whatever reason. They age it anyways. It's okay to age. So he brings it back. I'll put it in my fridge and I'm waiting on the perfect time to drink it. I'm like, oh man, me and Danny, we're going to savor this thing together. So one night I'm in bed and I hear Joe and Joey show up. I'm in and out of slumber. I start hearing some records get played, I hear a little bit of, he's got some Sinatra going. He's got a little Dino going. He went to my crooner section but they weren't being obnoxiously loud, but I heard them, they were in the other room. I definitely heard them. I heard their selection of music. They weren't being super rowdy. It wasn't boisterous laughter, but it seemed, it wasn't enough for me to be like, hey guys, quiet it down out there. So I end up falling asleep because I was able to fall asleep because
Dino, man,
it was Dino and the soft sultry Joey's, So
Joey and the Tees,
Joey and the Breeze,
Mm.
So I'm already drunk. Holy shit! Well, so I wake up the next morning and I go into the living room, a couple Budweiser bottles here, this and that there. I get over to my record collection, and there's about 8 records unsleeved, just sitting out there naked in the wind. So I'm hot at this point. I'm like, Joe Marvin Tarleton, get your ass up and explain yourself. But I was holding that in at the moment because I just woken up. I was like, my records. I start sleeving them up, and had to. The cardinal sin was committed too. Oh. There were 2 records stacked on top of each other onto my turntable. Can you imagine? Doesn't that make your skin crawl?
Not since I was probably 9, 10 years old before I learned record etiquette.
It hurts me to think about it now. And it was like literally Frank on top of Dino having a 69 on my Technique 1200 turntable. I'm hot, baby. Yeah. I'm a firecracker right now, right? So I go to the kitchen to get water, whatever your morning chug of a drink is, maybe I didn't have a bedside water bottle at that point. There on the counter amongst 5 or 6 other empty bottles of Budweiser, Bud Light, whatever they were drinking, sits my prized bottle of 120-minute IPA with maybe 3 sips taken out of it. Sitting there dying like
when it wasn't like domestic light and cold, they just cast it aside.
I mean, if you're not ready, if you don't know what this is and you're not ready for it.
Fair.
But if you drink it and go, this is very unique. Maybe I shouldn't just be. And I'm wondering if it was the last beer in the house. They drank all of theirs. Because if it was, I figured they would have powered through the sour biscuit.
Yeah. Is it more upsetting that there was so much left, or would have been at least you could have drank the whole damn thing?
Okay. More upsetting that there was $14 worth of wasted beer in there.
That's a lot of wasted beer.
Yeah. And not even the money part of it, but just I had a recreation, a reenactment in my head of these 2 clown bozos opening the fridge going, ew, what the hell is this? Spitting it into the sink and throwing it down next to.
There was probably 2 sips taken out, one for each of them. They're like, is this awful or is it just me?
And I know they both drink Jameson, so I mean.
I can see Joey be like, there's something there.
God,
but the rest of it tastes like a fart.
The anger was that there's 2-3 sips taken out of it.
Yeah.
So immediately, I was like, Jody! His dog gets up, Romeo. I was like, Uncle P, I don't know what you're mad about. But I could tell that Romeo was like, oh, he's real mad at Dad.
God bless
him. So Romeo comes over, because rest his soul, fat little Romeo.
Oh, yeah.
He always knew when I was like, particularly feeling bad or hungover.
Yeah.
And he would always come up next to me and be like, hey, buddy, I'm here for you. Give me a pet and I'll make you feel better.
Just the absolute epitome of what pit bulls aren't, or people think they are.
Or this what dog they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Just gentle. Just, yeah. I used to give him a ride home,
Yeah, just the dog?
Yeah.
Well, most animals that care about you a little bit, like a cat won't care that much.
They don't give a shit.
But most animals that do care about you, they have that sense.
Oh, yeah.
They can tell by probably your pheromones or your physiology that something's different. They can probably tell that your temperature's higher.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just unaware that their, psychological processing is more than just saying, oh, I feel bad.
Yeah.
They can sense from your,
Absolutely.
I think that's a real thing, like your mannerisms and.
So was he like in front of JT's door, like?
So
easy.
So it took him a second to get out of JT's room.
Oh.
Because he had to nose the door a few times, like, and he comes out, sort of half wagging his tail, looking up, like, all right, just tell me first, whatever. So I get Joe up, and I was like, dude, what the hell? You threw it down like just some hooah. You threw it away like some hooah at a strip club, right here next to all your Mick Ultras and your Bud Lights and your Budweisers and your Miller Lights. Come on. Actually, that's what it was, because they both drink Miller Lite. Bunch of cyclone-necked Miller Lights. You remember those?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
The Vortex or whatever the dumb shit they were doing.
Among other things.
So I was like, what the hell is this? You left my 100. Do you know what this is? Do you know what it took for me to get this? Do you know how much it costs? Do you know how rare these things are? He said, what, man? I tried it, and I was like, well, I thought it was like, whatever. I can't remember what he said because I was literally steam coming out of my ears, blood coming out of my eyeballs. Sphincter tight, red-faced Santa Claus. So the conversation was pretty short, but the content was such that he went on a mission immediately. Oh. And he had a buddy, Boston Joe, that just happened to be coming down in like the next 3 weeks. And Boston Joe stopped through wherever, picked up a 120-minute IPA.
I call it redeemed. Bad move on the record etiquette. Probably didn't know what he was doing with the beer at all.
At all, yeah.
But the record etiquette,
In the overall, he learned from both. The record etiquette, I just think he was being drunk.
Teachable moment.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I was more mad. I'd have been more mad if he'd have kept doing the records like that, because there's only, that was one beer. That was just a one-off thing. Well,
that says something to his character that he actually followed through and made it right. Maybe a little later down the road, but he made it right. Because I'm not sure about the other Joey.
Yeah. Well, I had no onus to even say anything to the other Joey. He'd probably been like, what, I was over there? He probably wouldn't have remembered, What, I was over there?
I'm sorry, man.
Oh, man, can I get you another one? Actually, no, you can't. Do you want to go to Hoboken, Delaware, or wherever the F this stuff is from?
Oh, bless his heart.
So thank you, Hockey Joe, and thank you, Beer Label Society. So this we recorded before New Year's, this past New Year's. So I haven't seen you since then, and I haven't given an actual recap.
Yeah.
So I do Susudio Sunday, a DJing gig at Huckapoo's for New Year's. It went over really well. It was super fun. The only thing was me being out there just on a stage with a computer, because I wasn't actually DJing. I had my phone and a computer. And I was just, here's the trick to make people think that you're doing a lot. Uh-huh. Because I didn't have like turntables or CDJs or anything like that. So I'm not mixing anything.
Nothing to flip through.
Yeah. But I did keep my mind occupied by just going through the playlist. Pretending like I'm doing a lot,
Were you hyping at all? Like, were you like hands in the air? All right, people, here we go. So
it wasn't a hype situation like that. But here's how you mask the buffering between two songs. So, Girls Just Want to Have Fun's getting over. Huckapoo's, it's 2024, how we doing tonight? As you slowly fade the other song in. How y'all feeling tonight? But it was, it's not like hands in the air like you just don't care. Huckapoo's.
Right.
That's you. Yeah.
You wouldn't do that anyway.
I don't know if you know me, but I kind of don't have that sort of thing in me.
You're not a hands in the air like you just don't care. God, neither am I.
Not a raise the roof guy.
No.
So a couple of friends of mine, I am definitely not going to dox them. I don't even have the button to dox them with. A couple of friends of mine, I get there, I start getting set up, and they were like, hey, we got some mushrooms if you want them. Oh boy. I said, yeah, because I hadn't made any other plans I didn't have like any other substances, Yeah. I was like, well, I don't want to just drink on New Year's.
Sure.
And, I got a pretty good head about psychedelic drugs,
you carry yourself very well.
They give me a bag, probably like an eighth, but it's really dark. So I just grab one stem and cap. I pop him in. Start playing. About an hour goes by. I feel great. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep this thing going. I popped one more cap. Still going. As long as my mind is occupied, about hour and a half in, people would start walking up. Like, they would say something to the effect of, hey, could you play song X or whatever? But I felt like Hunter Thompson in the Lizard casino scene, because they would walk up and go, he got best dude. I'd be like, yeah. My answer was, yeah. Okay. So it's growing. The vines are growing on the walls.
Oh boy.
I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it feels like the music's a little bit louder. The bass is a little bit deeper.
Sure.
I figured out later what it was. There's like a loose cable in the back of the thing that I was using. And if people would come up and bump it, it would go down.
Oh.
But then if I would rock the table, whoa, the bass would come back. But for the first like 30 minutes of that happening, I was like, oh God, I did too many. So everything's going pretty well. But then after about the fourth person that walked up and went, I was like, I need a buffer. Like Romeo at the house.
Yeah.
Big Tyler that works at Pooh's in a velour.
The jumpsuit.
Yeah, the jumpsuit. Black with, it looked like Jamaica's flags colors, maybe? Right?
Yeah. Black with like all the little trim
stripes, like almost corduroy, but
it's felt, it's slimming. It really is.
He had the hood on and everything. He grabs a stool, like Romeo, like without me asking yet. He goes, you want me to come get up here and be your bouncer? I was like, yes, yeah.
And he looked the part that night in that outfit. Like,
bro, I'm telling you that the moment he sat up there, this air of respect came around. And people that were typically coming up to me a lot, they would walk up and go, and then like I was like Gambino crime boss. They would whisper into his ear, and then he'd lean over and go, AP, you got the sister Christian? I'd be like,
oh no.
I'd be like, yeah, maybe, but thank you. He goes, nah, I got you. I'll tell him to fuck off.
I love him. I love him.
But it seemed like the moment he got up there, the air around the place changed.
Okay.
So instead of me with my keister flapping in the wind, because I didn't have a velvet rope situation or anything like that. I'm just up there naked as hell. People are starting to say.
So you're outside on the deck or on inside stage?
Inside on the stage,
okay. But
if you've been to Huckapoo's, the stage is 4 inches tall, so it's not
right.
You'll trip over it more than step onto it. The stage, that is. So there's no buffer of a human or of equipment. There might be like a table and a speaker, but people start getting a little rambunctious and getting closer and closer and setting their drinks on the speakers and stuff. And I was like, hey, please don't do that. Definitely don't put it on the table where my computer is. Most people weren't doing that though. Then Tyler gets up there and not a drink came close to any of that stuff anymore.
Like I said, I went there later that night to get some rides home after everything was more or less wrapped up. And I saw Tyler in that outfit that I think Stephanie Knight bought for him.
She what?
I think Stephanie Knight bought that for him. Stephanie.
Oh yeah.
And but he wore it well. He looked the part of a bouncer, or at the very least back up.
Just his presence alone, because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
And put the hood on, sits there with his.
If he'd had a gold chain, that would have just sealed the whole deal.
I think he might have. He just might have had it tucked, just in case. So as the night goes on, it's getting to be around. So we do the countdown, which apparently, in many years past, people botch whoever's emceeing or DJing botches the countdown. So luckily, I have a TV there, and Eric and I had the plan of like, all right, 5 minutes before. So every minute I'd be like, 4 minutes until New Year's. And it kept me busy saying shit like that, So about 4 minutes in, I found like a 4-minute song where it would pretty much. So then I lowered it as we got there, and I was like, we're going to start counting from 15. Everyone get outside, because Eric was like, have them start counting from a high number. So it's not like, everybody ready, 5, 4, 3, no one can get in on that. So I was like, I'm tripping fucking hard. And in my head, I'm going, is 20 too many? Is 10 too little? All right, we're just going to agree on 15. Okay, wait a minute. No. Paxton, think. Who wants to count for 20 seconds? Who wants to count for 50? I mean, I'm having this internal strife going on with the demons, which are real. I saw the third dimension. 15, 14, and everyone jumped in at 13. I was like, you made the right decision, Paxton. So did you, other Paxton, talking to yourself in your head. So did you, lizard people on the wall. So we get the countdown done, and I see the keg drop outside, everything goes off. And I hit U2 New Year's Day. I love playing that, because it's,
It's got it.
And everyone came back. So everyone came back in. We're having a great time. Tyler's there. I'm tripping kind of hard. Getting towards the end, and I can tell that it's weaning off. So I was like, all right, 1:30, I'm going to be done. 1:30 comes around. I was like, all right, thank you guys so much. We're going to put the house music on for you. And Stephanie, who was bartending, she goes, no, we're not. But then I guess Alex overrode her, and he started playing some music. I was like, thank you. So I started breaking my equipment down. And now that I don't have so much to do anymore, and I'm doing like grunt work.
Yeah.
Now that second mushroom cap it's really knocking on the door.
So it showed up now. It joined the party.
I think it had joined the party like an hour before that.
Yeah.
But I just had enough distraction.
I'm surprised. Like when I'm on shrooms, I can't even look at my phone. It's one thing to like watch a movie on a big TV and just veg out, but it's a whole other thing. Like I'd be at Hula trying to look for the lineups and be going to that little app they would have, and so I can't imagine just no. The last time I was at Pooh's on shrooms, I just sat in the corner by the big deck fan and just giggled at everybody for an hour and a half. That's what I did.
It's what you do. So luckily the computer screen's big enough where, I'm not having to, it's sort of like, I felt like I was under the hood at a football game.
Okay.
When they're doing when they're checking the replays.
Yeah.
Because as long as I focused on the computer and looked at the 64 songs I had in the playlist, like, what's going to be the perfect song to play next? Huh? Huckapoo's, how we doing? Yeah. So I get packed up and people are wanting to start, now that I'm not, busy with my head buried in the computer, people are wanting to chit chat a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm like, hey, yeah. I get packed up. I see an avenue to get the equipment back to the back. I dart through there. I get all my stuff in. Walked outside to smoke a cigarette. And how do you say? The world came tumbling down?
Okay.
I was like, I look over to the right, and there is Ronnie Grilled Cheese in the breezy bus, the taxi cab of Tybee. And I go, who are you picking up? He goes, 2 people, get in. I left my money. I was like, I don't need to get paid tonight.
Just get out of here.
I just need to get the hell out of here, which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah. It
was a great idea as I got in the van or the bus. There's like, it's 2 girls and an older guy that I know from down here. I get in, the older guy is talking to the 2 girls, completely distracting them from my presence.
Okay.
Which was a blessing at that point because I couldn't have held a meaningful conversation with anyone except a computer screen.
Yeah.
And so I have a pretty short ride home from Huckapoo.
Yeah.
And I get here and I get all my stuff and I was like, I've never been this cold in my life. And 5 minutes later, I was like, I've never been this hot in my life. So now I'm super paranoid because no one's here.
Yeah.
My roommate's out of town. It's about 2. The neighborhood is as dark and as quiet as it's ever been.
Yeah.
So I was like, should I go outside and smoke a cigarette? And I was afraid to walk outside because I was like, they're going to hear me. So I got in bed and covered up and put a heating pad on my feet, and then took the heating pad off, and then put the heating pad back on, and then took it off, and then put it back on. Because I was menopausal. I was mushroom menopausal.
There's the episode name.
Mushroom menopause. Thank you. Oh, I got to write that. So, but so typically in years past, you and I, we spent a lot of time, on, well, maybe not holidays, but like 4th of July, we're always at Humphreys and Red Rocks or whatever, or around there. New Year's, we'll go see something together typically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so it reminded me of, I guess it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, our New Year's, because on days leading up to New Year's, on New Year's, the day after New Year's, it's typically in a psychedelic infused drunken concert setting.
Sure. Yeah.
So the setting of having ultimately a band that you like playing loud music, that doesn't give room for all of your psychedelic things to get into your head too much.
Right.
Where you have a freak out. And then when you do leave, you're probably with like 6 or 7 of the people that you really like or love.
Yeah.
So you have someone, hopefully.
6 or 7 strangers. I was like, who the fuck's this guy? No,
because me, when I walked outside, I was like, no one else is tripping because the people that gave me the mushrooms are gone already. I was like, I mean, there's probably someone else here on some sort of psychedelic, but I didn't see them. So I was like,
Yeah.
But we've gone, like we did Atlanta Humphreys. We did like 3 of the 5 nights or something like that.
Yeah.
And we did copious amounts of things like that.
Yes,
and we're totally fine.
Yeah.
So that's That's my typical psychedelic experience, is being very distracted.
Yeah.
And not having time to go too internally and be like, I'm tripping too hard.
Well, perfect. Short of quick story on this is like Wink and I went to see Humphreys at the Major Rager in Charlotte a few years back. It was a weird outdoor venue in a mall parking lot. There was 30 feet of water between us and them at the stage. It was the most random place to see.
Was it raining? It was like a body of water?
Yeah, it was like a pond, you know, in front of the stage. It was so weird. And this was when they were playing with Moon Taxi, like every other show. That one. Anyway, so Wink and I, we get down, you know, but I'm driving us back. We're doing a turn and burn, and but I ate some caps pretty early in the going. I'm thinking after 5-6 hours I should be fine, and I was until we literally left the mall parking lot. And then all the extracurriculars kicked in again, like all new stimulation, all new lights, all new settings. And there was road work between us and Columbia pretty much the entire way. So it was like being in Mario Kart. It was just yellow light after yellow blinking the entire way. We almost got ran into by a backhoe that was doing construction work. It's just
overall, did it turn fun because of the Mario Kart aspect?
No, there was no freak out. Everything was fine, you know, but it was startling how comfortable I felt where we were at that one time. And as soon as we left that environment, literally within a minute, I was just like, oh shit, we made it back, obviously.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, probably shouldn't have been driving.
you probably not.
Yeah.
But
and it wasn't because of drinking or anything like that.
You
Wade was drunk.
When you do those turn and burns, I mean, there's lore about your turn and burns. And I think I've been on one with you maybe. But you'll go and like not drink.
Yeah.
But maybe like a cap or something, and then have a good time, and then drive back.
Yeah, it's always about the music. I don't mean to be hokey, but it really is. If I can't enjoy those bands
without substance,
then
do you really like them?
You know, what's really the point?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and if that means that people that are coming along with me get us about as safe a passage as they can, then yeah.
I've never heard anyone be like, I wouldn't trust him to drive back on a little mushroom cap or two. Yeah.
Well, I'm getting to the point now where I'm getting too old to do it. It's just tiresome. If it's within 2 or 3 hours, maybe. But
I've been too old to do that.
5-6 hour turn and burns, or I can't do those anymore.
I've been too old to do that, bro.
I like some windshield time.
Yeah.
You know,
I get it. You know, like if you get in a groove, but typically when I go to a show, I'm drinking a lot.
Sure.
Because it's, you know, it's chicken egg. It's can you poop without peeing? Oh. Once I start doing anything, something else is going to happen with it. If I start drinking, I'm going to start smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. If
I eat mushrooms, acid, Molly, I'm going to start drinking.
Right.
It's you know the cantilever, the counterbalance.
Yeah. Well, for everyone I've done relatively sober, I've more than made up for on the backside. Trust me. Trust me. I mean, you know, I'm not looking back going, I wish I could have done more.
Well, isn't it funny how the change of, well, maybe not venue, but the change of atmosphere can take a very pleasant trip or whatever.
If you're going back to a hotel room and it reinvigorates that buzz, you know, that's one thing. But when you're in the wheel, you know, in a car, and again, Wink was the perfect counterpart at this point. You know, we were having a great time.
You would keep tunes going, I'm sure.
Never
stopped talking.
And he was just remarkable. You know, it was realizing the situation we were both in, like, Jesus Christ, could there be any more? I mean, it was like an hour and a half of just nothing but flashing yellow lights between there, Charlotte and Columbia. Until we finally got past Columbia and everything finally kind of settled in, you know, put the cruise control on 80 and.
So the road work, were you able to go the normal speed through there, or was it like 40?
It probably was. I don't think I was doing anything faster unnecessarily.
It was probably a blessing that it was only 40. You could not have to worry about.
Yeah, there wasn't, like I said, there wasn't a ton of traffic necessarily, but it was just those damn yellow lights.
Yeah.
So and the backhoe that almost killed us.
Oh, sure, that's a thing. Yeah. The big cat.
Yeah.
You drove the Breezy Cab on New Year's this year?
I did.
And how was that?
It was good. It was just Ron and I, but it was just one call after another, you know. Yeah.
Oh, so the pacing was good.
Yeah. I mean, there was maybe a couple times where I maybe held St. Clair just so I could go pee at one of the park bathrooms, and then, but when the ball dropped, I was in the car driving some people down front. So that's, you know. So
no, because typically most people think like, oh, it must have been crazy because it was New Year's or something like that. But I get the most trouble and shitty people and problems on non-holiday nights typically.
Yeah.
But New Year's is always one thing, especially like I would figure in a cab where like if there's people that are out partying that wouldn't normally be partying.
Right.
So their cab etiquette or understanding like, oh, you need cash to ride in here.
I mean, surprising, there was nothing remarkable as far as the rides went. I mean, nothing I could really go.
Good. So no Karens or Darrens.
No. I mean, I mean, it's not good for content, but it's the truth. I mean, everybody played along, and it was definitely a volume night. I mean, it was a lot of rides, but everybody was generous, and definitely after midnight, that's when the Jacksons started flowing.
Oh yeah,
one person, 2 people rides. Everybody was throwing 20s at that point.
Because typically after midnight on nights like that, the drunker people get, the more stingy they get.
Yeah.
Well, it can go both ways.
Yeah. Like I've said in the past, you can't learn. I've learned not to expect anything.
Right.
But as the night was going, initially I was like, it's a lot of rides, but money's okay. But then after midnight, people were just maybe jovial. New Year's, like, hey.
It can go either way. People either get more generous or less generous.
And people be like, almost to a person, were like, way better than a DUI. And take that.
I wish they'd be like that all the time.
Me too.
Yeah. So typically, I would just imagine. But you were in the car and Ron was in the big bus.
Yeah.
Because whenever I rode with him, like I said, at 1:30, it was just 3 or 4 people. I was like, and I was trying all night. And all through the week, I was trying to manufacture a Karen for this episode.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And I was like, and I wasn't bartending on New Year's. I was, DJing, whatever. But I was like, how did I not? And then there's this one lady, and this is before Tyler became a bouncer at all. She came up to me one time, and she goes, hey, if you could in a little bit, could you Pour Some Sugar on Me? It was in my playlist already, so I was like, you know what? I will. I said, yes, ma'am, I will. So then I just knew, I just knew that like every 10 or 15 minute interval, she would come up and say something, right? And ask me again, hey, are you going to play that song? Yeah. She would walk up and then turn. I'm tripping pretty hard by this point. I don't know if I've said that yet. I keep thinking she's going to come and ask me.
Yeah.
But she never does. She never turns into the Karen. She would just walk up and go, hey, good job. And then when I finally played it, she goes, yeah, he played it. We sang happy birthday a couple times. But I could not manufacture a Karen or a Darren. I was like, this is.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the way the world should be.
I mean,
everybody
like
plays by the rules. I don't mean like some totalitarian socialist government. I just mean like everybody does what they're supposed to do the right way. And
like you said, not great for content, but good for good for mental health.
I mean, traditionally, sometimes I'll text Lee like, hey, Buzz, so-and-so or whatever. But I don't think I really hit her up that much. Everybody seemed to be ready.
Just what the hell?
Standing outside.
Are we in the upside down?
Even going to Pooh's, there was no door pullers. Like they would just see a car traditionally empty and just immediately think I'm available. And, depending on who I'm picking up and how many people, sometimes I am. But other times, but I don't think that happened one damn time.
Not one door puller.
No.
And if I can tell you anything, I've witnessed 100 door pullers.
Yeah.
Just because you pull up. Like, oh, no one's in there.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, I'm picking people up. Yeah, us, right? No.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of learned to like lock the door and crack the window,
okay,
and navigate that way.
Right.
It does make it a little easier. But like I said, if I'm there to pick up 2 people, you just got 2 people. Hey, if you're not going like to Crab Shack and I'm going to Sandbar, then you're just gonna have to wait. But if we're both going the same way, pile in.
Let's do it.
But honestly, no.
Let's be efficient.
Yeah, and I still think. I mean, we were more or less done at 3. I think I had to take some people home from Pooh, so I made it home by like 4:30.
Did I hear that we had fireworks out here? Was that a real thing?
Yeah, there's fireworks.
Was it at midnight?
Yeah, right at midnight.
That seems like, sorry, city of Tybee, but it seems like the dumbest fucking idea to get people who don't normally party that much to come out to a small island, sit around and drink until midnight, fireworks go off, and then everyone leave the island at the same time.
Well, in the past, in the 13 or so years I've been here, there was a lot of people that came out here to see the fireworks on the 4th and on New Year's. And there'd be this mass exodus, probably of families, that kind of thing. Probably some drunks in there too.
But that was always around like 9 o'clock.
But dark. I remember being hard to navigate Tybee. Once Jones would get backed up, there was like we couldn't go to Huckapoo's for like an hour or two sometimes.
Oh, because of the exodus of cars leaving.
The amount of traffic. And this year it was noticeable how little people were out here. I mean, there was a few cars leaving about 12:30, but nothing that held me up.
Yeah, because like I said, I wasn't bartending, but typically I would notice if we get an influx at Huckapoo's, because we're one of the last places before you get off of the island.
Yeah.
So if traffic's kind of backed up, they're like, all right, we'll just pull in here and wreck these people's night.
Yeah. And but it just wasn't like, I mean, like I said, it was just Ron and I don't know how he did, but for me personally, it was one of the better nights I've had in a while on a New Year's. And like I said, but it was just it was volume, definitely a lot of two people rides, 3 people rides, that kind of shit.
And then getting more generous after midnight.
Yeah.
Unlike the college football subcommittee jerk-offs who didn't put Georgia in. So we're recording right now while Washington and Michigan are playing, I guess.
Yeah.
And I could care.
I mean, I like watching football, and but this takes precedent. If it Georgia or Clemson been playing, would have been a different story.
Sure, yeah,
certainly.
I didn't even realize it was happening.
Yeah.
And so you walked in the door, I was like, holy shit, it's Monday, and this is like national championship night. But whose national championship is it? It's not real.
Well, and I told you earlier when I came in, I was just like, I didn't see it. I really thought it was going to be Alabama and Texas. I just didn't see it going this way. But I lived in Ann Arbor for a few years when I was much younger, so go blue.
Got something, the blue and maize? Is that
the maize and blue.
The maize and blue.
Yeah.
So you got something to pull
for.
Me, I don't care about anything. Yeah. I watched the Georgia and the Georgia FSU game.
Yeah.
And luckily, so it was a pretty cold Saturday, and I wouldn't have been busy without that game. But people stayed, and it's weird how Division I college football is missing so many of their coaches, because all of their coaches go to my bar on Saturdays and talk about what Georgia should and shouldn't be doing, especially on a day where we're beating FSU by 50 at some point. And they're like, why did he throw the ball down the right side? He should have thrown down the left. He could have made that tackle. Yeah. I'm like, how are they even winning this much without you there, coach?
Well, I'm a Clemson guy first, but I love Georgia. No problem with them at all, except for when they're head-to-head. But my stepdad, Joe, went to Clemson, played for a little bit when he was there and all that. We were watching Clemson play Kentucky, and it was a wild game. It was probably one of the better bowl games. There was like 5 lead changes in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was wacky. But Joe, he was about to be a Kentucky fan. He was just so mad at Clemson. Every damn time. And it could be a drop. It didn't matter. They could gain 20 yards. Could have been 21. I mean, just nothing was good enough.
It's weird that they're doing it without him as their coach.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was like, Joe, take it, baby. You're 86. Take it easy. The boys are going to kill me.
No matter how far ahead we got, it was a problem that we ran it on first down.
Yeah. Well, if it had been a blowout, that would have been one thing. He still would have complained. That's why I adore him so much. But it was, like I said, it was one of the fourth quarter was just, I hadn't seen something like that in football in a while. It was crazy.
If your team isn't playing for like a really big bowl or a national championship or whatever, I'd rather watch a back and forth game.
Yeah.
Because the Georgia FSU game, it was a dry hump. I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But we should have been.
It was a little hollow.
It was a little hollow. We should have been in the 4.
Yeah.
And people are talking about, next year there'll be 8 or 12 in the playoff or whatever. I'm like, that's not I personally don't think that that's the way forward. Yeah. I think getting the committee with, better heads on their shoulders.
Yeah. Clemson's recent success, I kind of told myself a few years ago, it's like, no matter what happens, I'm fine, So we won 9 games, It's like,
I mean, ultimately, if we think about this in a very, very macro sense, we're not going to die.
Yeah,
because our team.
And like I said, I'm not greedy about it. We won 2 national championships. Had the opportunity to play for a couple more in that span, and it was a hell of a run. I'm not saying it's over. I don't know, but I'm enjoying Georgia's success just as much. Truly,
I can look upon other teams that like my friends love, and find some sort of joy in it.
If Texas has been in it, I would have been Team Jason all day long. Yeah. No problem.
But NFL, I can't jive with any NFL anymore because fantasy football has ruined fandom in the NFL.
Yeah, they're mercenaries anyway. They just play for the money.
I mean, I get it. I mean, yeah, but I mean, some of them do, but some guys, it's just it took all because college, you can't. It's a bunch of kids trying to make their way in the world, brother. They're just trying to get an education and go to the league.
Well, for me, I think I enjoy football so much, regardless of the level of it. Is like it's my reality television.
Sure.
It's something that's real. Whether it's kind of there's puppet masters behind the line controlling things and outcomes. I don't know, but that's it's I don't watch the Kardashians or any of that shit. It's my reality TV. That's what I enjoy.
You can be like, oh shit, so and so got injured. That's real life. Something happened.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike Bobo called the wrong play. Oh, wait a minute.
That fucker.
Everyone's supposed to. Now, you were talking right before the podcast, and we talked a little bit about it right at the beginning, but, if any of you guys remember the old NASCAR driver, Dick Trickle, we were talking about Mike Bobo and how tough he must have been to have that name.
Well, he played quarterback, so he had to be a tough guy. Yeah,
well,
he's a football player.
I was thinking if his first name was Bobo and his last name was something different, he would have been a superstar.
Yeah.
Bobo McKenzie. But Mike Bobo, you're
throw
fucked.
A bale of hay 50 yards. Yeah.
You threw a barrel of hay over the hay barn.
Yeah.
With one arm.
Behind him.
Yeah.
2 years old. Threw a crib across the room.
He broke out of a stainless steel crib. That sounds like a dog cage. Whatever. He broke out of it when he was 5.
That's just good parenting.
Yeah, and then he took the dog. Then he took the Cocker Spaniel and threw it across the field.
An unfortunate name.
So Richard Trickle, Bobo McKenzie. But it's funny because I think so. Back in the day in football, if you had like a real good football name, it was just by happenstance.
Sure.
I think, right? But now I'm starting to see some of these names. And I'm not talking about the DeBrickashaw Fergusons or anything like that.
Juice Williams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some of these names, it's almost as if when they name their, like, and it's white and black people too.
Sure.
Because now you got your Stetson Bennettts and your Stud Orwells and your big arm Dannies. Like there's a lot of white and black guys. Yeah. Because it used to just be the black guys, like Clinton Dix. You could get away with that. It's a great name. You could get away with that, but as a white dude, you couldn't. But as a white dude, you can get away with long arm Larry Colt or Colt Gunslinger, Colt Pistol Holder.
Yeah. Colt McCoy.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you can get away with that now. There's like the white version of the funny football name,
Key and Peele did an amazing segment on that.
Yeah.
The absurdity of some of the names.
But guess what? Those are all like blackface names.
Yeah.
Now the whites are like, we got to get in on this shit, man. We're naming our son Trigger, Trigger McCoy McGavin.
I knew a kid when I was younger. His last name was Time, Tyme.
Okay.
First name Country.
Shut up.
Yep.
Was he an heir to the lemonade?
And it was a family name. He showed me his ID, told me the whole story. And it was a good laugh, but at the same time, it was real. Country Time.
Shut up. What was his middle name?
Don't know.
Didn't need one.
No.
You don't need a middle name if you're.
I don't think he had one because he showed me his driver's license and it was just Country Time. Yeah. Well, Martin doesn't have a middle name. It's just Martin Crespo.
Really?
Yeah. Martin Crespo Esquire.
Damn. Yeah. Because think about every great actor you've ever heard of. A lot of them have Daniel Day-Lewis.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah.
It's a bunch of 3-name guys, What are you going to do? What can you do without a middle name, man? What are we doing over here? But I have the most common middle name on the planet. Lee.
Lee?
Paxton Lee Willis.
Paxton Lee Willis.
And the only time I ever heard Lee, and my dad's middle name was Lee. He was Robert Lee Willis. Yeah. Sounds like a pretty good football name. Robert Lee Willis.
I catch a pass from that guy.
Yeah. But the only time I ever heard Lee was whenever not my mother, but my stepmother was mad.
Oh, yeah.
And she was real country. You go, Paxton Lee? And I would come to attention, throw a football, kick the dog out the door. Well, guys, I'm glad 2023 is over. It was the worst year of my life. The first week of 2024 was kind of hard. I didn't feel very well.
You're still standing.
Still standing, baby. And I hope you guys enjoyed that we're recording during the Washington-Michigan game tonight. Just to make yourself feel or seem foolish, who do you like?
I'm going to go Michigan just because.
I'm going Michigan too. And you guys are hearing this after the game.
And I have no updates right now, so I have no idea what the score is.
I was trying to get us done before.
8:47.
Hey, we're good. All right, guys. So if you want to, you'll see Clint again next week. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's From Behind the Barcast on YouTube. It helps us out. Hit some likes on our videos and stuff. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, all those other things. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/From Behind the Barcast. Thank you for another beautiful year, and we will see you in the next one.